Right, been looking at all the YouTube videos on the coronavirus today. It's not looking good, really. You know, I think we're sort of being given the softly touch, mainly because if you think about it, the rich are the ones who are going to suffer here, money-wise, that is. But that's sort of offset against some of the population dying. Now, maybe 1%, maybe 0.5%, generally old people, which the government are going to love because it takes the strain off the pension system. Yeah, I don't know what to think. Been in touch with a lot of other Project X people, and they've seen all the same stuff I've seen, basically. There was a horrific one, which I'll try and put the links for, to do with them keeping it all quiet in China. You know, I couldn't believe that. And if they hadn't have kept it quiet, would it have been contained? I'm not saying it would have, but, you know, I'm putting that question out there. Would it have been contained? Here in England, there's been panic buying elsewhere, but here in England, it's just starting. Tesco's have just announced, that's one of our supermarkets, it's just announced that it's going to limit stuff people can take now. Even 5 items per person. You know, if you only take 1 item a week, that's still going to be 4 times the amount. And what's going to happen to all the finances and things, you know? Are we still going to be paying mortgages and that? We're all sitting at home? You know, everything's got to give a bit. If you're not earning the money, you can't pay your bills and your mortgages and your loans and your credit cards and things, which the rich are going to have horrific. You know, the poor things are going to stop having to buy their caviar and their champagne. I mean, how awful. So, you know, I don't know how it's going to go, really. We've thought about, we have got a booker's card because of all the shows and things we do. And we don't know whether to go to Booker's and stock up. You know, trays of soups and things rather than 1. Tins. We would buy oats, lentils, bread making flour, UHT milk, lots of sugar, brown and white. That sort of thing, you know, for basic food if all the other stuff ran out. Tins. Any amount of tins, because even if it takes you 2 years to get through them, if the virus doesn't help. But I'm not saying, although Tesco's are really trying hard, they're giving deals for tins and things now. Well, when I was there last week, but apparently over this weekend it's got a bit worse, and they're actually limiting stuff now. Aldi's a good one, but then again, you know, there was a lot of empty space in the pasta rack. But on the other hand, if we have to lock down for a couple of months, how are we going to get food? How's that coming through the gate? And if it comes through the gate, what's it going to bring with it? You know, nobody seems to know how long this virus... I've heard everything from 8 days or something to 28 days of it staying on a surface. And what temperatures are that at? You know, will it be killed outside if it comes in a parcel with the post? If you imagine your everyday life, it's terrible if you're a family. If you've got 4 kids that go to school and you both work, that's 6 possibilities of bringing the virus back in the house. So, you know, I don't know what to say, really. So I'm just going to put what I think well, I'll put all the options, and then you can decide for yourself. I'm not going to say anything, you know, I'm not going to say anything's gospel, but secretly, if I was you, I'd go and get 2 weeks' food instead of 1 week to start with, and do that every week and build up stuff like tins, pasta, all the stuff you hear about going missing in other countries, off shelves. Toilet paper, don't understand that, because there's plenty of, you know, it's people who don't want to touch their poo, I suppose. But if you're out in the wilds, you know, or been somewhere where there isn't any toilet paper, you wash your bottom, full stop. You know, I've lived in countries where you only had a bidet. There wasn't a roll of paper inside. You put that bidet on and you washed yourself. Simple as that. If poo killed you, it would have done a long time ago. So, you know, the things I don't know why it's people want toilet paper. Drinks wise, if you've got water coming through your taps, you should be okay. But if I was you, if you don't like water, if I was you, I'll get something to flavour it. Something like undilutables, yeah, dilutables rather, you know, and stuff like that. Tins. I've always been against buying water, but if you have to, do so. Best place is Aldi again, 17p for a litre. That's still probably 40 times more than what's coming through your tap, but if you've got a water filter, it's another good thing. Tea and coffee will last if you've still got it sealed in jars and still sealed in tea bags in their sealed containers. That's fine. If you're a bit dubious, then buy those sealable plastic kitchen containers where you put the lid on and then clip down four edges, because that's got a rubber seal on it. And if you've got a damp kitchen or a damp storage area, if you buy lentils and flour and sugar and stuff like that, if I was you, I'll put it in those containers too. A bit like the preppers do. But remember, you're only prepping for a couple of months or a month or two. So yeah, and I'm suggesting to all the big corporations, we've got a lot of people working in these big corporations who feed us information, and they're all saying they're wondering what's going to happen. Now, if everyone goes into freeze at the same time, i.e. landlords not wanting rent, credit card companies not wanting payments, mortgage companies not wanting payments, all the stuff that we have to go to work for stops, freezes in an instant, and then everyone can go home and it's okay. The only people who've got to keep going is obviously the food people. But like you say, you know, the government should have sorted that. They're all saying there'll be food enough for everybody, but would they say that? Would they just say that? I don't know. We're lucky. We've got a field full of cows, so we can do our own thing if necessary. To go out there and shoot one, but you know, try and avoid that if we can. Which is no good for my wife because she's vegetarian. But I've seen people on YouTube saying what they've done, and some of them are buying seeds, vegetable seeds. Now I looked in a shop called B&M here, and they've got these big racks of seeds which don't look as if they've been touched yet. So that's another thing. And you know, a lot of the things like bean shoots you can eat when they're a shoot. Watercress, it all takes a few days to grow, so there's that possibility too. But you know, bread flour, that's the big one. That's a big one, because even with bread and water you can make something to eat. It's pretty awful, but you can make something to eat. If you do buy lentils and stuff for soups, make sure you got some spices to make it taste a bit better, because I don't know whether you ever saw I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, which is where they're all in the jungle And when they were banished to rice and beans, the ones who smuggled in the spices were the ones who thought it was okay. So yeah, they did do that, but you could just go out and buy a big bag of spice, which would help your soup a bit. So what I'm saying is, I don't understand why the government hasn't at least shut schools. They say this is in phase 2, but you know, when is that? They seem to do all these things too late. You know, stopping gatherings in big areas like offices, schools, even supermarkets for that matter. Definitely concerts and matches of different types. Football matches. At Cheltenham, the chaps organised it. Oh no, we're going ahead with that, just in case they lose their £1 million they make on it. You know, people are putting money before they're putting people's lives. Remember, all the while you're spreading a virus, you might survive, but you're probably killing a lot of old people while you're spreading it. There's a lot of old people go to races and stuff too. So, you know, what do we do? I don't know. I would just do what they're saying us to do at the moment. Wash your hands. Don't kiss anybody. Don't do any contact. Try not to breathe in their direction. Stay isolated where possible. If you can stay at home, stay at home. If you go to the office, just dodge everybody. Wipe everything. I know there's no, here in England, there's no sanitising liquid left. And, you know, people are going for bleach, anything, basically, that they can wipe their surfaces and things with. So that'll all be gone soon. I expect the government's got the basically all those companies all going full belt to try and make the stuff, but you know, it's not going to. I don't think anything is going to cope with an initial panic. English people don't tend to panic much, but it seems to be happening. In other countries, they're killing each other for a packet of toilet paper. You know, that's amazing. But I'd rather be safe than sorry myself, because at my place in Wales, we've got my old mother who's 86. Me and my wife have both got sort of mild asthma, which won't, it's probably because of the old house we live in, 300 years old, etc. So, you know, and then we've got 2 kids who haven't even seen life yet, you know, so really we want to try and keep it in. We'll just shut the gate and hope for the best. Luckily we live miles from nowhere, but you know, if it gets to phase 4 where the army's on the streets, then you're going to get people going around looking for food, and they probably, you know, won't stop at anything. If you stand in their way, they'll chop you down. So I don't know whether, you know, anyone's got firearms, but I'd have those ready when it gets to phase 4. Most of England's been disarmed because of the government and the Home Office's policies. Because, you know, there's people in the Home Office, we've heard, basically sentences in the minutes of meetings have read things like, well, of course, the public shouldn't really be armed at all, and, you know, how can we disarm the public? You know, things like that. So they obviously want full control over us in cases like this, you know, where people can walk in your house now and demand stuff. If you don't give it to them, they either shoot you or, you know, in the case of Islam, rape your daughters. But you know, I really don't know where to go with this. But this is number 1, and I'll put coronavirus, etc. in the title, 01, and then I'll keep you updated. Because at the moment in England we've had 2 people die, both elderly, and I don't know how many cases we've got, but it seems to be accelerating at a terrific rate. You know, and there's people standing around, and well, Boris seems to be, whether it's press or not, I don't know, but he seems to be every single lab, wearing a lab coat, looking at stuff, and but whether that's filmed for us, you know, you can never tell these days. I like to think, you know, he's worried, and of course he would be, you know, because he's a human, the same as us. But they seem to be doing very little. They say, oh, the disruption to business will be terrific, but yeah, it's going to be if a lot of us die as well. You know, just freeze everything on the spot, literally freeze everything, and isolate everybody. Which I don't know whether you've seen my medical video in the UFO section. You know, that's what they do every year. They get everyone to get food in. There's a lockdown for a month or so, and that if there's any spreading germs or viruses, they're instantly defeated every year. You know. So anyway, I'll put this on. This is number 1 of the XTV series, and we will see how far we get with this. If we're not all dead soon. I don't think so, but who knows? If they're backpedaling, saying what they're going to tell us, they've already said they're going to tell the supermarket bosses before they tell us that there's a problem, so they can try and get more food in. So yeah, there are, like I say, there are people stacking stuff away now. So let's see what happens. Right, thanks a lot.